everyone, I'm Nathaniel Patterson of the Gentleman League, here to help you reach your goals and to find genuine success and greatness. Today's topic is interview tips, and the purpose of this video is to help you guys to be successful on your interview so that you can get the job. First of all, since you actually have already got the interview, great job. If you created a resume and it has reached the desk of an employer, that employer has decided to call you and actually invite you in for an interview, you've already done something very great. So no matter what the outcome of this interview, you are a winner. So the first tip that we're going to go over is research. Research. When I say research, I mean research the responsibilities in the job description. If you've already gotten the interview, it's already based on that employer's idea that you are a good fit for that role. But it's also important that you understand everything that job description entails, because when it's time for the interview, you should be ready and prepared for any question that they could throw at you. So the best place to start in your research process is actually from the job description itself. The next thing you want to make sure you understand in your research is the climate of their industry. And the reason why that's important is because it's going to show that you have a vested interest and a true desire to get hired if you've researched that company's industry landscape and sort of understand a little bit of what they are going through. The next thing is current events. Now, there are 5 different things that people discuss when they're talking with people, and the acronym for it is FORDS. And FORDS stands for family, occupations or organizations, recreation, dreams, and sports. You should be good at making small talk and making sure that your interviewer and anyone else in your environment is comfortable with your presence there. The next tip that I want to go over with you guys is prepare for the question, what's one of your weaknesses? Now, this question may come to you in various forms, but you should be ready for it no matter what happens. Now, when I first started interviewing, this was a very troubling question, because who wants to tell what their weaknesses are? What they're really looking for is one of your strengths. So you want to be mindful of this question before you answer it. And the best way to answer this question is to have already come up with your own response to the question. Now, what I want you to do is to think about one of your strengths. Now I want you to consider how that strength could be a weakness. I'll give you an example. I'm actually a very detail-oriented person. So even though that's a good thing in most cases, I have a tendency to get bogged down in minute detail when there's a lot of other things going on. That's actually a weakness. So if someone were to ask me what's one of my weaknesses, I would use this as an example, but I would start by saying that I'm a very detail-oriented person. I do have a tendency to get involved too deeply into detail, but I overcame that by making sure to keep the big picture in mind. You see what I did there? I took the strength that I had, I inserted the weakness that is inherent in that strength, and then gave a new way of thinking that will keep me from having that strength become a weakness. That is the way that you want to actually frame your answer to that question. And that response is actually a strength, weakness, strength sandwich. You want to make sure that you do not give a flaw without any resolution. The next tip is practice asking questions by selling yourself first. Now, this tactic may not be so great in your interpersonal relationships, because what I'm going to tell you is to slightly brag about yourself before you say anything out of your mouth. If you are responding to a question or asking a question during an interview, you're selling yourself. So there's no reason to feel like there's a problem with talking about the things that you do well. But it's all about how to do it professionally, succinctly, and tastefully, so that the interviewer does not feel like you're overselling yourself. I'll give you some examples. I spent a lot of time developing great sales and sales training strategies at previous jobs. Will there be opportunities for me to exhibit my skills in this area? Now, if you see, that sentence has two functions. The first part, where I say I spent time developing sales and sales training strategies in previous jobs, is telling that employer that I'm not an empty vessel. I have things that can bring value to that company. I have things that are desirable. I want that interviewer to want that. But then I also ask the question, will there be opportunities for me to exhibit my skills in this area? That's me challenging that interviewer to tell me how well the skills that I have developed are going to be a part of their organization. Another example, I am great at finding solutions to problems. What are some of the problems past people in the role I am applying for have seen? Now, this question is a great one as well, because it sells yourself as a person who has the analytical skills to problem solve. But it also challenges that employer to tell you a little bit more about what someone else in that previous role has done, and that shows that you really want to understand what a day in the life of this person would be like. So now that we've actually got a few of those strategies out of the way that will help you on interviews, I want to go over some more practical tips. Dress for success. I suggest for an interview to wear something dark navy or dark gray, like a charcoal. I would not go in on a brown or tan, and I definitely would not wear black. Now, if you only have one suit, I would not blame you for wearing whatever color that you have, but if you are going on an interview and you want to put the best foot forward, you should know what looks the best to an interviewer. And the red tie is great because it's a confidence piece. The next tip is bring 2 copies of your resume and keep them in a nice binder. Your interviewer may or may not have your resume in physical hard copy right there in front of them. So you want to have a copy to give them, and then it's also great if you have a copy to look over. There are some times that you may have 2 interviewers and you want to have 2 copies, one for each individual. So it's better to be prepared, and if you are the only person who came into the interview with a resume in hand and the other ones came in empty-handed, that's a leg up for you. The next tip for you guys is to write 3 thank you notes. You want to have 3 thank you notes for the following people: the receptionist at the desk, your interviewer, and then 1 extra just in case you have another interviewer. Now, these thank you notes should be a little generic, but should also have your contact information. So you want to say something like, thank you for the opportunity to interview for this company. I look forward to my first day. And then put your name, contact information such as your phone number and email address in the thank you note. That's a great touch to show that you really thought out of the box, and it's also great to make sure that you have your contact information in the hand of your interviewer. Now, the reason why I also say to have a thank you note for the receptionist is because there are often times where several different applicants will sit in a interview room or receptionist area and wait for the interviewer to come and pick them out. That means that the receptionist has a chance to interact with those people. So if you had a chance to form a good impression on your receptionist, then that receptionist may take the extra step to put in a good word for you. The next tip that I'll give you is to get to your interview 20 minutes early. The first 10 minutes is so that you can always scope out the area. You may see people coming and going out of the office, and you may get a chance to make some small talk with several people. There are so many people who go to an interview and they are not prepared. And being on time is late. So if you have any traffic situation, if you have any hiccups getting into the building, if you get lost in any way, then 20 minutes should be enough of a buffer for you to make sure that you're not late. So these are a few tips that I wanted to give you guys for interviewing, and I hope that you have some success in your next interview and land that next job.
This presentation was brought to you from the desk of the Gentleman League.
Escape the Bush League and find genuine success and greatness.
Visit www.thegentlemanleague.com, The Gentleman League on Facebook and YouTube, and follow @The Gent League on Twitter.